See this guy? He's daydreaming, thinking about all his plans for the future. But there's a problem. It's actually wrecking his life. He finally wakes up.
Oh no!
Hours have passed. He meant to be working on his future goals. He tries to get back to work, but it's tough. Eventually, his mind wanders into another comforting fantasy, and the cycle continues. I love to daydream. In fact, I'm the king of daydreaming. I'm daydream supreme here. Daydreaming's great. It feels good. You can be the hero of your own story. You can imagine things that haven't yet happened. You can plan for the future, or you can relive the past with an interesting twist. But the problem is, for a lot of us, imagination becomes something more akin to an addiction. It becomes a way to escape difficult things in our life. When your daydreaming starts to become excessive, when your daydreaming starts to actually interfere with your real life, this is called maladaptive daydreaming. I developed an extremely active imagination when I was very little, right? I was an only child. Didn't live on a street with any kids that I could hang out with. I didn't have cable TV or video games when I was really, really little. So what am I supposed to do? I had to keep myself occupied. So I had amazing fantasy worlds that I would build with my toys. I loved Star Trek whenever I did get to watch it, so I'd be imagining myself with my own star fleet, traveling the universe, saving people, and fighting the bad guys. All of this is good. All of this is great. But then, slowly but surely, I started running to my imagination and my daydreams in order to escape reality. When I was growing up, my parents were arguing all the time, and then eventually my parents split. A lot of unknowns, a lot of difficulty bouncing back and forth from house to house. I was able to retreat into my imagination. One of my favorite places to daydream was the shower. It feels good, you're nice and warm, you got that nice background noise that drowns everything else out. And of course, my parents would get pissed. They'd be banging on the door, you're wasting all the hot water. You've been in there for an hour. Like, we need to go, we need to get to church, we need to get to the store. Come on, hurry up. I was definitely starting to get lost, lose track of time. As I got older, it started to affect me more. I was wasting a lot of time, not getting my schoolwork done. And a lot of times I would start talking to myself out loud. And that's normal for a little kid who's playing make-believe with his toys. But when you start getting older and you're just walking around the house and you're mumbling to yourself all the time, yeah, things started getting a little weird. I started wasting hours and hours of my day just pacing, walking back and forth in my apartment or in my dorm room, just talking to myself, having all these imaginations, taking multiple showers a day, and just getting lost in thought. Either imaginary situations of fantasy like sci-fi or, Lord of the Rings type shit, all the way to like imagining things that I'm going to do, things that I could do, or what if I could travel back in the past and change something about my life. I can't even imagine how many months or years collectively of time that I've wasted on imagining things that I want to do instead of actually doing them. And I don't want you to be stuck wasting your life away in purgatory like I was. How do you know when your daydreams have started to become maladaptive? The first thing is that you forget where you are or what you were doing or what time it is. Like maybe you have some task that you were working on and it started getting a little frustrating and you started to space out. You started to go into another world. And then when you finally wake up, you're like, wait, where was I going? Or what was I gonna do? Or what step am I on? You start losing track of reality because you're so absorbed in your fantasy. A second thing to tell you that your daydreaming is out of control is that you're losing tons and tons of time in your day. It seems like the day just escapes you because you're lost in your mind. For me, this would happen all the time. I would work a lot in the evenings, and so I would have my mornings free. I could go to the gym, I could go skate, but a lot of the time I would end up daydreaming about the things I wanted to do. And then I find out, oh shit, it's like lunchtime already, and then I need to go to work immediately after. Morning completely wasted, didn't get anything done that I wanted to get done, and I would do that a lot. A third way you know that your daydreaming is starting to become maladaptive is when you'd rather spend time alone daydreaming than spending time with people or doing fun hobbies. You get lost in your thoughts, you're having crazy discussions and drama with all the characters in your head, but then you remember, oh yeah, I was gonna go to this birthday party, or oh yeah, I was gonna go try to meet new people and try to make new friends at this place or that place. And you just kind of like, well, it's already getting late. I don't know, it's just easier to stay here. I'll just stay inside today. You start to isolate yourself. And the fourth way that you know that your daydreaming is starting to become maladaptive is that it's almost like you don't have control over it. That you just slip into imagination and slip into fantasy, and you're like, how is this happening? This keeps happening. I don't want to do this. It just seems like it's second nature to me. You have all your intentions and purposes to finish this task or go do this thing, but you keep getting lost in thought. Truly, daydreaming can be an addiction, just like social media, just like video games or adult content. Anything at all that gives you quick dopamine, that's what daydreaming does. You don't have to go out and do something. You can just imagine it in your mind and it feels good. It feels like you actually did something. But you're tricking your mind. You've actually hijacked your brain to think that it accomplished something when it didn't. If you have a life that you want to achieve, a life that you want that's better than the life you have now, but you're spending all of your time dreaming of that life, but never doing what it takes to get that life, you're going to stay stuck. This is incredibly important to solve. You have to really take time to train yourself to break this old habit, this old coping mechanism that you've had since you were a child. It doesn't mean we can't have imagination. It doesn't mean that we can't have wonderful daydreams from time to time. But it does mean that we have to start finding other ways to deal with our stress, to deal with the discomfort of life, and start making progress. I think the first step is that you just make yourself aware. When do you daydream? What do you typically daydream about? What types of things typically trigger you into starting to daydream? Is it work? Is it stress? Is it social events? Write these things down. Literally, just take a piece of paper, say some of my favorite types of daydreams are this. Typically, the places I like to daydream are this. The times that I tend to do it most often are this. Now that you've written down the when and the where and the why, now you have a better idea of what you need to do to make a plan to solve this. One of the tips that I highly recommend is that you set timers. I have a timer for my shower. It's waterproof, bought it on Amazon. I only take a shower for 5 minutes. I know that I'm gonna be in there for hours or until the water runs out if I don't set a timer. Timer goes off, it alerts me, oh yeah, I need to get out. That way I'm not stuck in there. You can do this for whatever activities tend to trigger you. You can also set a timer for when you're trying to do work. The Pomodoro technique works really great. You set a timer for 25 minutes, you work for that block of time, then the alarm goes off, and that keeps you at a pace. So if you start daydreaming, you won't be daydreaming for too long because that timer will go off, it will remind you, then you can take a little break, reset, and then start working again. Another good technique is to actually plan times when you are allowed to daydream. And you can also make sure that you can daydream while you're doing something that's also useful. Go for a walk. You need exercise, right? You need that cardio. You know that your walk is going to be 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is you would normally do. Let that be your time to daydream so you can get some of that enjoyment. You can get some of that pleasure without wasting the rest of your day. And then finally, when dealing with stress or avoiding things that you don't like, you have to have better coping mechanisms to replace the coping mechanism of daydreaming. So there are tons of options for this: meditation, journaling, exercise. So give some of these a shot. See what you can do to help reduce the amount of time and the amount of negative effects that daydreaming can have on your life. Am I a perfect person? Have I eliminated maladaptive daydreaming from my life completely? Hell no. I often get lost in thought. But after following all of these tips that I just covered, everything is so much better than what it was. It's night and day. All of these things have completely changed my productivity. I've been able to accomplish so much more with my time and with my life. I know that this is corny to say, but don't let your dreams be dreams, dude. This is your life right now. There's real people to talk to. There's real experiences to have. Don't be wasting your life daydreaming, because in 10 years, you'll be daydreaming again, wishing that you hadn't wasted your life now. I was stuck in that mental trap for years, and I don't want that for you.